I remember the day when I first heard the word shadowing. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon, and I was watching a video about English learning tips. The speaker was full of energy, and she spoke clearly with a bright smile and confidence I had always admired. When she said, "Shadowing helped me speak English naturally," I sat up straight. I paused the video, grabbed a notebook, and wrote the word down. I had no idea then that this strange method would change my life forever. At that time, I was working as a receptionist at a small hotel in my city. My English was enough to check in guests and answer simple questions, but I couldn't really speak freely. I always needed to think before I spoke. My mind was full of grammar rules and vocabulary lists, but my mouth didn't want to cooperate. Every time a tourist asked me something unexpectedly, I froze. I smiled politely, nodded a lot, and felt like a robot with no real voice. That night, I went back to the video and listened carefully to the explanation. Shadowing meant listening to something in English and repeating it immediately, word by word, intonation by intonation, like an echo. I had never tried anything like that before. The idea sounded simple, but powerful. So I opened YouTube again and found a short speech by Emma Watson. She was talking about gender equality at the UN. Her voice was calm, clear, and passionate. I pressed play, put on my headphones, and started to shadow her. The first attempt was a disaster. I couldn't keep up. My tongue felt heavy and my brain worked too slowly. I paused after every sentence and rewound again and again. I felt frustrated, even silly. But something inside me said, "Don't give up." I remembered how difficult it was when I first learned to ride a bicycle as a child. I fell many times, but I kept going. I told myself this was the same. A new skill always feels impossible at the beginning. I decided to shadow for just 10 minutes every day. I chose videos with subtitles and speakers who spoke clearly and naturally. I repeated their sentences out loud again and again until I felt I could copy their rhythm and tone. Slowly, I noticed changes. After 1 week, my tongue didn't feel so lazy. After 2 weeks, I didn't need subtitles for easy videos. After 1 month, I caught myself speaking to myself in English while cooking or walking. My brain was waking up, and English was starting to live inside me. The most exciting moment came one evening at the hotel. A couple from Canada came to the front desk and asked me for recommendations for dinner. Before, I would have just smiled, pointed at a map, and said, "Here is restaurant." But that day, I didn't hesitate. I said, "There's a lovely Italian place just 5 minutes from here. They have delicious pasta and a very cozy atmosphere." They looked surprised and happy. We continued the conversation for 10 minutes, and I felt like I was finally myself, just in another language. After that day, I became addicted to shadowing. I started to use it with podcasts, interviews, audiobooks, and even scenes for movies. I didn't understand everything at first, but I didn't stop. I told myself it was like learning a song by heart. You just need to hear it many times, sing along, and let the melody guide you. My pronunciation improved without me even thinking about it. My speaking speed became faster. My confidence grew like a strong tree with deep roots. One Saturday, I joined a speaking club for English learners. Before, I had always avoided such events. I was afraid of speaking in front of strangers. But this time, something was different. When it was my turn to speak, I opened my mouth and the words just flowed out. I didn't translate in my head. I didn't look for grammar. I just spoke. After the session, a woman came up to me and asked where I had learned my accent. She thought I had lived in an English-speaking country. I laughed and said, "No, I just shadow people on YouTube." Shadowing didn't only improve my English, it changed how I saw myself. I used to feel small, limited, and shy. But now I saw myself as someone who could grow, improve, and connect with others. I started to dream bigger. I wanted to travel. I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to help others speak English too. My world was expanding with every shadowing session. I wasn't just learning a language, I was building a new version of myself, one word at a time. 6 months later, I applied for a job at an international travel agency. The interview was in English, and I was nervous, of course, but I felt ready. I had practiced shadowing so much that English had become part of my daily life. During the interview, I didn't feel like I was acting. I felt like I was truly communicating. The manager smiled and said, "You sound very natural." When they offered me the job, I almost cried. Shadowing had taken me from a silent girl behind a desk to a confident woman with a new future. My first day at the new job felt like stepping into a completely different world. The office was modern and full of people speaking different languages. English was the main language for all communication, and I was both excited and scared. As I walked to my desk, I reminded myself how far I had come. Just a few months ago, I couldn't answer simple questions without panicking. But now, I was ready to help international clients plan their dream vacations. During my first week, I shadowed a senior agent to learn how everything worked. She was kind and very professional, but she spoke fast and used many expressions I wasn't familiar with. Still, I didn't panic. Every evening, I went home and listened to similar conversations online. I found travel-related podcasts and repeated everything I heard. I mimicked the tone, the speed, even the enthusiasm. Shadowing had become my secret weapon, and I used it like a tool every day. One day, I was asked to handle a call from a client in London. My hands shook as I picked up the phone, but as soon as I started speaking, something clicked. My voice sounded confident, my sentences came out smoothly, and I didn't need to translate anything in my head. The client even joked that my English was better than his. I laughed, but deep inside, I felt proud. I had trained for this moment, and it was finally happening. My colleagues began to notice. One of them asked, "How did you become so fluent so quickly?" I smiled and told her about shadowing. She looked surprised and said she had never heard of it. That evening, I sent her a few of my favorite videos and explained how I practiced. She thanked me, and I realized that I wasn't just improving my own life anymore. I was starting to inspire others too. Soon, more colleagues became curious. During lunch breaks, I shared my favorite English channels, my shadowing routine, and even gave small tips on pronunciation. We formed a small group and started a weekly shadowing session. We played short clips from movies or interviews, and we all repeated the lines together. It was fun and it brought us closer. We laughed at our mistakes and celebrated our progress. It felt like a team effort, and I loved being part of it. One evening, after one of our shadowing sessions, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea. I looked at the city lights and thought about how much I had changed. Just a year ago, I was afraid to speak. I avoided conversations and doubted myself constantly. Now I felt strong, capable, and even excited to speak in English. I realized that language is not just about words, it's about connection, courage, and belief in yourself. My mother noticed the change too. She said, "You smile more now. You walk with confidence. What happened?" I told her everything. She didn't understand all the details, but she saw how happy I was. She hugged me and said, "I'm proud of you." That simple sentence meant everything to me. It reminded me why I started in the first place, not just to speak English, but to grow as a person. A few months later, I was invited to a conference in another city to represent our agency. I had to give a short presentation in English. Before, I would have said no immediately. But this time, I said yes. I prepared every evening using shadowing to practice my speech. I found similar talks online and copied the speaker's rhythm and confidence. I recorded myself, listened again and again, and corrected my tone. I treated it like training for a performance, and I was ready. The day of the presentation, I stood on stage in front of over 100 people. My heart was racing, but as I opened my mouth, the words came out smoothly. I didn't need to think. I had practiced too many times for that. I saw people nodding, smiling, taking notes. Afterward, several people came up to me and said how clear and professional I sounded. One man even asked if I had studied abroad. I laughed and said, "No, I studied on my couch with my headphones." That night, I couldn't sleep. I was full of joy, excitement, and pride. I thought about how something as simple as repeating after a voice could lead me to a moment like this. Shadowing had taught me discipline, patience, and the power of small daily actions. It didn't just change how I spoke, it changed how I saw the world. I knew now that I could learn anything if I gave it time and heart. Shadowing wasn't just a method. For me, it had become a lifestyle. After the conference, something shifted in my career. My manager called me into his office and thanked me for representing the company so well. He said the feedback from the event was excellent and I had impressed several important partners. Then he surprised me by offering a new position, team leader of international clients. I was speechless for a moment. Just 1 year ago, I could barely hold a conversation in English, and now I was being trusted with a leadership role? The new role came with more responsibility, more communication, and even more English. I had to write emails to clients in different countries, attend online meetings with people from around the world, and lead presentations every week. It sounded challenging, but I accepted it with confidence. I continued my shadowing practice every day, even if only for 15 minutes. I didn't want to lose the flow I had built because it had become a part of me, like brushing my teeth or making coffee in the morning. Each morning before work, I would choose a short video, maybe an interview with an actor, a TED Talk, or a short podcast about leadership, and I would shadow it while getting ready. Sometimes I did it while putting on makeup or ironing my clothes. I repeated the speaker's words exactly, even copying their emotions and hand gestures in the mirror. I believe that is what made me not just sound more fluent, but feel more natural when I spoke. One of my favorite videos was by a British speaker who talked about the power of confidence. I must have shadowed that video 20 times because his voice was so calm and his message gave me strength. I could hear his voice in my head during meetings when I felt nervous. His rhythm and pronunciation had become part of my own speaking style, and that helped me stay relaxed when I had to explain something clearly to international clients. My friends and family noticed how different I sounded. My younger cousin once said, "You sound like you've lived in New York or London." I laughed, but I also felt proud because all those hours of speaking along with YouTube videos had finally paid off. I didn't need a language school, a fancy tutor, or an expensive course. I just needed consistency, curiosity, and a deep desire to grow. Shadowing gave me all of that and more. A few months later, one of my closest friends asked for help with her English. She had always been afraid to speak, and she didn't know where to start. I invited her over one evening and showed her exactly how I practice shadowing. We picked a simple podcast together, listened to a sentence, and repeated it again and again until it felt natural. She was surprised by how fun and active the process was. She had always thought studying English had to be quiet and serious. Helping her made me realize something important. Teaching others is also a great way to learn. As I explained the method to her, I became even more aware of how it worked and why it was so powerful. I told her not to worry about being perfect and to just enjoy the rhythm of the language. I shared my favorite channels, gave her a list of beginner-friendly videos, and promised to practice with her once a week. We made it our new routine. Together, we started a small shadowing group on weekends. At first, it was just the two of us. Then a few more friends joined. Soon, there were 7 of us sitting in my living room every Saturday morning, headphones on, repeating English sentences with laughter and passion. Sometimes we picked serious talks. Other times, we chose funny movie scenes. It didn't matter what we used. The point was to speak, to listen, and to grow together. It became a joyful habit for all of us. Now, when I look back at the woman I used to be, the one who was afraid to speak, who avoided phone calls, and who smiled silently while tourists asked for help, I feel a wave of gratitude. I am not that woman anymore. I am confident, clear, and connected. Shadowing didn't just teach me how to speak better English. It helped me discover my own voice, build real confidence, and open doors I never imagined could be open to me. When someone asked me today, "What's your biggest secret for learning English?" I would smile and say, "I talk to YouTube." But deep down, I know it's more than that. Shadowing gave me structure, hope, and the feeling that improvement was always just one sentence away. Every echo I repeated built a stronger version of myself. And now, I speak not only with better English, but with courage, clarity, and a heart full of belief that anything is possible, with the right method and with enough love for learning.